Welcome back to the one, the only, the Binger. The Binger, where we are confused about Frozen 2. We came into the sequel with so many questions, but we've been left with even more. As Prince once said, mystery is a word for a reason. It has a purpose. But does it really? Let's take a look at all the questions that were left unanswered by Frozen 2, and you can decide for yourself. Like every blockbuster movie nowadays, Frozen 2 had a short scene after the credits. Usually these clips give clues about a sequel. So what does Frozen 2's post-credits scene reveal about a Frozen 3? In short, nothing. This scene, no matter how some of the good people of the internet might want to spin it, is just a fun little fan service moment. It brings back Marshmallow hobbling along on his partially reattached leg, which got cut off by Hans in Frozen 1. Joining him are the snow geese. If you've watched both Frozens, you still probably don't know who these little snow minions are. They were introduced in the 2015 short, Frozen Fever, which screened just before Disney's live-action Cinderella. In the spin-off, it's Anna's birthday, and Elsa wants to make it perfect. Unfortunately, she's got a cold, but she toughs it out. Because she's sick, she keeps sneezing, but these aren't just any sneezes, these are supernatural Ice Queen sneezes. Every time Elsa chews, two tiny snowmen pop out of thin air. And because she continues to ignore her sickness and lead Anna on a birthday present scavenger hunt, Elsa continues to sneeze and the snow geese continue to multiply, causing chaos all over the castle. In the post-credits scene, Marshmallow and these little bonhommes are Olaf's audience. He gives them a rundown of exactly what happened in the movie because Marshmallow and the snow geese were not in the movie at all. There's no clue about sequels or future plots here other than the fact that they may include the giant and mini snow people. It does lead us to another question though. When Elsa is briefly frozen in the glacier, Olaf dissolves into snowflakes because Elsa's power is not there to keep him together. If Olaf, a product of Elsa's magic, gets dusted, then wouldn't Marshmallow and the snow geese dissolve too? One aspect of Frozen that is somehow always taken for granted is that Arendelle is a monarchy. Anna has absolute power to reign over her people. She can throw them in jail for having the wrong opinion, or she can give them universal basic income. It is completely up to her. Now this is of course not what the movie is supposed to be concerned with, but there is no doubt in anyone's mind about a Frozen sequel. And in that sequel, Anna will be the ruler of Arendelle. Just like real-world monarchs, she will be appealing to the idea of divine right to justify her place as queen, although she actually does have it because her sister is an immortal spiritual force. In Disney, the good guys usually stay the good guys and the forces of evil are pretty clear-cut. But in Frozen 2, all that changed. The kingdom's past got dredged up, and it turns out Arendelle was not on the right side of history. Back in the day, they went up north to the Enchanted Forest and intentionally screwed over the North Uldra, building a dam that would, quote, weaken their land. In the days of Frozen 1, everyone thought Arendelle was beyond reproach, and that turned out to be absolutely false. So even though Anna seems like she's got the right ideas, she could easily be led astray if the absolute power gets to her head. You know, road to hell, good intentions, bada boom, bada bing. When Elsa comes riding back on her water horse to save the day, she seems different. Her look has changed for one. She wears her hair down and sports a gown reminiscent of Celine Dion's from the 2017 Billboard Awards. But something in her bearing has changed too. She holds herself more upright, but she also seems more distant. It seems like she's above the petty concerns of mere mortals. And she is. She is the fifth element. She's more of a spiritual entity than a human being, or at least she's a mix of both. As the fifth element, she is meant to be the bridge between humans and the other four elements. She can access the collective memory of her people and watch moments from the past as if they were YouTube videos. And let's not forget that she has the power to control ice. When you start to think about it, Elsa seems an awful lot like a god. After all, what else is a god but the being that communicates down from the spiritual realm to us mortals? Frozen 2 doesn't quite answer this question. No one is praying to Elsa, and Kanye West definitely isn't making an album about her. But her story is awfully messianic. She dies for her people's sins, and then gets resurrected as a supernatural being. It sounds awfully familiar. When When Elsa descends into the glacier, as eager as a tourist in Iceland, she finds herself in a hall of her and her people's memories. Inside the giant room, she sees her parents and grandparents projected on the walls. There are snow relics of her old creations like Marshmallow, and also of moments in the past, like Arendelle's betrayal of the Northuldra. It seems kind of like an afterlife, or maybe an archive. But Elsa can also build ice statues of past events for herself, and as a way to inform others, even across a dark ocean. This seems to imply something about the flow of history in Frozen's world, especially in relation to Elsa's ability to freeze things. At this point, the concept is not fully developed, so it leaves us wondering, is this supposed to be an afterlife, or is it just a way for Elsa to illustrate the past to herself? Are these just projections of her own mind? And will a sequel explain any of this? This is the most blatantly unresolved thing in all of Frozen 2. When Elsa and Anna are traveling north to the river, they find their parents' shipwreck and discover that they too were traveling north in search of the secret to Elsa's power. They explore the ship and find a waterproof compartment where they find not only a map, but also a piece of paper with some mysterious symbols on it. They puzzle over them for a hot minute, but then they just drop it. It honestly seems like they went deeper into these symbols in a previous cut, but then abandoned the explanation for the sake of clarity. But all it's done is leave us wondering. No musical has ever answered this question, so it's probably naive to expect Frozen 2 to justify the centuries-old history of people breaking into song. But in a cinematic era when meta-commentary is not only accepted but encouraged, we thought there might be at least one line, maybe from Olaf, explaining why everyone sings. It seems that this was asking too much. Anna singing while she's at literal rock bottom, or Kristoff spontaneously breaking into a reindeer-backed Michael Bolton tribute are left completely unexplained. Olaf proposes an interesting theory in Frozen 2. He says that water has memory. What exactly does he mean by this? Well, we're not exactly sure. It's a line that's repeated a few times but never quite explained. What we do know is that the water/snow particles that were once Olaf can be easily reconstituted because of this memory. And Elsa's connection to past generations and their experiences does express itself mostly through ice, otherwise known as frozen water. This is an echo of some real-life science, specifically the study of genes and how they aren't just static bundles of traits that get mixed as they're passed down. It turns out that genes have a sort of memory, that bigger emotional moments in life register as changes in genetics. So events in your life can actually change what traits you pass down. Is this what Frozen is trying to get at? As we crawl inch by inch into the future, representation in movies becomes just as slowly more diverse, and Disney princess movies are no exception. Frozen pushed this forward in its own way, starring a princess with superpowers whose whole story didn't revolve around being saved by a man. But then, because she didn't get with a guy at the end of the first movie, everyone started to speculate that she was gay. Debate raged on Reddit, and a lot of people were hoping that Disney would have its first LGBTQ character. Then the trailers came out, and the fans were introduced to a good-looking stranger named Honeymaren. The rumor mill churned and churned, but then the movie came out, and Honeymaren plays a surprisingly small part. Her longest scene with Elsa is a brief fireside chat, and although they seem to get along just fine, this is far from a steamy hookup. While nothing is actually ruled out in Frozen 2, neither was anything declared. Plus, Elsa is pretty much a god now, which could mean that she'll be above these messy, earthly appetites. If you watched any of our videos in the lead up to Frozen 2, you've probably noticed that one of our predictions did not come true. At least not yet. In the movie's trailers, and honestly a large part of the film itself, it seemed like Anna and Elsa's mom would have powers similar to Elsa's. Disney has again taken the neither confirm nor deny position on this one. The source of Elsa's power is apparently the moment her mom, a Northuldra, saved her dad, an Arendellian, even though their two nations were at war. The kindness of this act apparently activated some magical process where a fifth element was conceived. There's not a lot of clarity on the nuts and bolts of this conception though. Does the movie mean to say that Elsa was the result of an immaculate conception? That instead of being brought into this world through a certain human physical act, her egg was fertilized by an act of kindness? What is most unclear about this is what it means for Elsa's mom. We know that Iduna, like all the Northumbra, is more in touch with the magical elements than the people of Arendelle. We also know that her reaching out to save Agnar had a very big effect on the elements and the fog that descended onto the enchanted forest. So she's obviously got something going on magically. What that is exactly is anyone's guess. We've given you these questions in the hope that you all will find the answers. So if you do have any theories about Iduna's powers, the frozen afterlife, or the memory of water, or really anything else, drop us a line in the comments. And of course, be sure to subscribe to The Binger for everything Frozen 2.